Hello everyone and Jai Hind. Welcome back to Criminology lecture series on Gyanonymous School. In our previous lecture, we discussed economic theories of crime, where we explored the relationship between poverty, unemployment, inequality, rational choice, opportunity, and even white-collar crime. Until now, most of our discussion have focused on the central question of why do people commit crime. But today we are shifting our attention to another equally important questions, that is, who suffers because of the crime. Who suffers because of the crime? So today's lecture will be Criminology Lecture 8, that is Victimology, Understanding Victims, Victim Rights and Victim Justice. And I think this will be the part 1 of this lecture. For a long time, criminology mainly focused on criminals rather than personalities, on criminal personalities, on motives and behavior. Victims were also overlooked in deserve equal attention. They experience physical injuries, emotional trauma, financial loss, social stigma, and psychological suffering even. The scientific study of victims and their relationship with crime is known as victimology. So what is victimology? In short, it is the scientific study of victims and their relationship with crime is known as victimology. So in this lecture, that is in lecture 8, we will discuss about meaning and scope of victimology. We will discuss about history and development of victimology. Who is a victim? The central question that we are going to discuss about it. We'll discuss about types of victims, Mendelssohn's victim classification. We will discuss about von Hayek's victim typology. Mendelssohn and von Hayek, these two are most important theorists in victimology. They propounded the theories of victimology. We will discuss also about a very important theory, that is victim precipitation theory. Also about victim facilitation, victim vulnerability, about repeat victimization, about about secondary victimization. We'll also discuss about victim blaming, victim rights, victim compensation, also about restorative justice, and also we are going to discuss about victimology in India from Indian perspective. And at last, we will be discussing about the importance of victimology, why we need to study victimology, why we need to look criminology from victims' point of view. Also, we will discuss about certain criticisms of victimology. Hence, coming to the central question, what is victimology? The word victimology comes from the Latin word called victima. It means victim. And the Greek word logos. Logos is everywhere, which means study. So whatever there is something logi, there is logos, and which means studies. So the central word is victima, and victima coming from the Latin word, which means victim. Victimology is a scientific study of victims of crime. We have already covered on its definition. Victimology examines who becomes a victim, why do some people become victims more often than others, what is the relationship between victims and offender, what impact does crime have on victims, how should society and the criminal justice system respond to victims, how can victimization be prevented? So these are the questions that victimology answers, or victimology deals with. Unlike traditional criminology, which focuses primarily on offenders, on the other hand, victimology places victim at the center of studies, at the center of criminal justice process. So this is the basics of victimology. If we go with the historical development of victimology, how it developed as a field of study, it emerged as an independent field of study after Second World War. Scholars realized that criminal justice system, that is CJS, it were giving considerable attention to offenders while neglecting victims. People thought that that theorists are more into offenders or more into even offense, more into the causes of offense and environment of offense with various theories, but they were neglecting the victims. So no one was there, or less people were there who were looking into criminology from victims' point of view. There come two pioneers who made significant contributions into victimology. So they are Benjamin Mendelssohn and Hans von Hentig. So these two names are very important in victimology. One is Benjamin Mendelssohn and another is Hans von Hentig. Benjamin Mendelssohn is widely regarded as the father of victimology. In any subject, if we go in even a small subject, we will always get a father. We don't know who is mother actually, but anyway, as we have found that Cesar Beccaria is the father of criminology, or Lombroso comes the father of scientific criminology, and now we also get another father of victimology, that is Benjamin Mendelssohn. It's important from an exam point of view. If anyone asks, if in any exam it asks that who is the father of victimology, it comes Benjamin Mendelssohn. Yeah, someone is saying hi. Yes, hello. Okay, actually I am not focusing on the screen, better I am just discussing. Anyway, hi to both of you, John and Richard. Thank you for joining. So Benjamin Mendelssohn is called father of victimology because he introduced systematic studies of victims and proposed one of the earliest classification of systems of criminology which deals with victims. On the other hand, Hans von Hentig, he focused on how certain biological, psychological, and social characteristics may increase vulnerability to victimization. So since then, since the time of Benjamin Mendelssohn and Hans von Hentig, that is at the time of World War II, victimology has expanded to include certain rights, like we call them now victim rights, about victim compensation, witness protection. People focused on restorative justice system. We will discuss about what is restorative justice, trauma counseling, victim rehab or victim rehabilitation, and also people started to discuss about human rights with respect to victim or from the point of view of victim. Coming now to the central question of victimology. The primary question is, who is a victim? So before studying victimology, or at the onset of studying victimology, we must know the question of who is a victim. Simply, a victim is a person who suffers harm due to a criminal act. That's all. A victim is a person who suffers some kind of harm due to a criminal act. That's all. Now, what the harm can be? It can be physical injury, it can be emotional trauma, maybe psychological suffering, also maybe financial loss, property damage, social humiliation, loss of liberty, maybe violation of certain kind of rights. So if one person suffers from these kinds of harms, he is said to be a victim. Victims are not limited to individuals. So there may be one kind of victim who is a direct victim or primary victims, but there are even secondary and tertiary victims too. So victims may include families, organizations, communities, businesses, government, society as a whole. Let's say in a fraud case, okay, it is not only that if someone is sitting or doing fraud with an organization, it is not that the organization's profit or loss statement will reflect that loss due to the fraud or cheating. It's also important the people who are related to that particular organization, they are also being affected. Their families are also being affected. So these are like called secondary and tertiary victims. Society as a whole is impacted. When such news comes out, people are afraid, people are like traumatized because of such things happening in the society. So the influence makes social victimization. Now coming to another big example, that is, let's say in a terrorist attack, the direct victims, actually we can see in the news, they are injured or deceased, who have passed away in a terrorist attack, or who are injured in a terrorist attack, they are called direct victims. But the news of the attack, the impact of the attack, it spreads so fast into the society that the wider community also experience fear, trauma, and shops are closed down, offices are shut down. So for that, economic loss happen for days, for even weeks. So this is called economic loss. Let's, for example, the few months back there was one bombing incident in Old Delhi, in Old Delhi metro station, or in front of the Old Delhi metro station, and some one or two perpetrators blast off the car. In that incident, or in that blast, I think 10 or so people have passed away. But it is not only that the 10 people passed away, they are the victims. It is not only people who were injured in that blast were victims. Victims also their families. Victims also the nearby shopkeepers, the nearby office personnel from office who were to be shut down for a few days, or there were less activity of people in that area due to the fear of such blast, or due to such circumstances. So all the people, the society around comes with secondary or tertiary victimization, and the country as a whole get a kind of, goes through a kind of trauma due to such blast, that anything can happen in any busy cities or in any busy neighborhood, that people are so that is it returning are the days of means past, like the days of 2000s or 2010s. These days where a lot more such blasts were happening, serial blasts were happening in across India. So people were afraid whether such days are coming back. Okay, so this is a fear, this is a trauma which even leads to economic loss. So the whole country is a victim in from one point of view. So to answer the question who is victim or who is a victim, we can simply say that a victim is a person who suffers harm due to a criminal act. So this is a simple black and white line, but it includes, actually the victim includes not only a single person, it may include multiple persons, and through multiple ways, like direct victim, indirect victim, from sociological, psychological, or economic loss. So that is what the central question of victimology we have answered. Now coming to scope of victimology. So what is the scope of victimology? It is much broader than simply studying victims. We can just say that it is nothing but to study of victim and one of the small subjects, but it is not so. It is much broader subject than studying of about victims. Even though it is one of the subfields of criminology, it has its own dimension, own theories, and own research going on as victimology. Such things may include, or themes may include, a victim-offender relationship, causes of victimization, victim behavior, protection of victim or victim protection, compensation, witness support, rehabilitation, crime prevention, in the theme of human right with respect to victims, about restorative justice, and even the reform of the whole criminal justice system. So scope of victimology is not limited to the subject of criminology itself, but it also includes the whole criminal justice systems, from police administration, from jail administration to courts, everything, the whole criminal justice systems, or the whole CJS. So today victimology is studied by criminologists, by police officers, by psychologists, lawyers, even judges and social workers, also policymakers, for betterment of victims, for better policy making for victims. If we go to the type of victims, we have already just gone with the outline of various types of victims while answering the question of what is victim or who is a victim. So now we are coming to actual type of victims. Victim can be classified in different ways, like direct victims, those who personally suffer from a crime. These are he is or she is or they are direct victims. For example, simply a robbery victim. If someone is robbing someone, he is a victim who is being robbed. There come some indirect victims, like people affected because of crime committed against someone else. If someone is affected by a crime which is committed onto someone else, like family members of a murder victim. If someone is murdered, his or her family members are also victims. There can be individual victims, like one person victims, when there is a single victim. Okay, like if a single person having some fund in his account, in his bank account, and someone is hacking his account, or by some means getting his money out of his account through attack, hacking, or etc. So if he is an individual person, in that case he is an individual victim. Now come to the another type of victims, that is collective victims. The entire community or society suffers, like in the example of Delhi blast. We are all collective victims. The whole country is collective victim of Delhi bomb blast. Okay. Collective victims also can be in communal violence, in terrorism, as we have mentioned in Delhi blast, maybe in natural disasters caused by criminal negligence. If something happens due to criminal negligence, like maybe gas leak or something, whatever you can imagine of, if a natural disaster happens due to criminal negligence, so it can also create some collective victims, not just single one. Coming to another type of victim, that is primary victim, those directly harmed during crime. Just simple black and white, who is directly harmed, he is primary victim. Secondary victims are those like family members and dependents who continue to suffer after the crime. They are secondary victims. Now coming to classification of victims from various by various experts who were like Benjamin Mendelssohn. He classified victim according to their degree of responsibility. Like he classified victims into various types, like completely innocent victim. Another is victim with minor guilt. Victim as guilt as the he is equating victim to the offender. His or she is the child is a completely innocent victim. Victim with minor guilt, the victim who unknowingly contributes to the situation. Okay, he or she can be victim with minor guilt. let's say living vulnerable or unattended, living like some stuffs which are vulnerable or which are valuable maybe, or unattended in public space. It can be like if I am leaving my phone unattended in a restaurant and just going to washroom, and then someone come and pick it up. So in that case, I am the victim, but I have a minor guilt too, because I didn't pay attention that this is a public space, there is no camera around it, and I should have thought about that. This is complete my negligence. Okay, so in that case, I am a victim with minor guilt. There can be victim as guilty as offender. Benjamin Mendelssohn has classified victims to this category also, who some victims who are as guilty as offenders. Here both the parties voluntarily participate in unlawful activities like collaborative crime. They just go through, but someone suffers more than the others, or both the suffers. So both becomes victims, but both are also offenders. Okay, it can be like if someone is planning to steal something and he or she got caught and beaten by public, especially in Indian context, and in that case the victim is as guilty as offender. He is beaten because he is caught in about to stealing something, so he is almost an offender, but he is beaten, so he is a victim too. He is about to steal something, he is an offender too. So in this case, victim is as guilty as offender. In some cases, there can be more guilty victims. The victim provokes or initiates unlawful behavior. In such cases, like if someone provokes the person in front, like if he can do this, just do it. Okay, or just by any words, and the person in front loses control and hits him or hits her. So in that case, the victim is actually more guilty than the offender. Okay, if he is or she is provoking for such unlawful behavior in a very provocative manner. And the extreme case of this can be another case where there is most guilty victims. Benjamin Mendelssohn explained the last type of victim according to he is most guilty victim. Like a person injured while committing a crime, he is most guilty victim. Like someone is like going to like in the life example in that blast that we controlled with our previous example, in the old Delhi blast, some one or two doctors were also dead, even though they are the perpetrator of the attack. But in that case, they are also victim of the attack. It's quite like we can say it quite irrational to think in that way, that perpetrators can also be victims since they are also dead. So in that case, they are most guilty victim because they are the perpetrator of the attack. Okay, or even if when they are injured, if they are not dead but they are injured, they would also be victim since they committed the crime. Another example can be a burglar who injured while breaking the house. If someone is trying to rob some house, but he is injured while breaking the house, he is already committing a crime of robbery, but he is injured, he become a victim, but he is most guilty victim. So it is important to understand that these classifications, as we have gone through various classifications of victims according to Mendelssohn, like completely innocent victims, victims with minor guilt, victim as guilty as offender. sometimes more guilty victim, and lastly most guilty victim. So even though he classified these classifications, victims with this classification, they should never be used to justify criminal behavior or deny justice to victims. Okay, even in that case, even though they are classified, someone may be classified as innocent victims, but someone can be classified as victims who is as guilty as the offender. But both, there shouldn't be any comparison, or there shouldn't be any discriminations while dealing with them from the point of view of victimology, or even in criminal justice system while we are dealing with the justice of victimology. So that's all. Today we have learned the meaning, nature of victimology. We have dealt with the question of who is a victim, and we have gone with the various classifications of victims from Benjamin Mendelssohn, that is father of victimology. From here, possibly tomorrow or the next day, we will go with classifications of victimology according to Hans van Heiting. He also gone with certain victim typology. We will discuss about that. Actually, we can discuss right now, not very long. Hating, he suggested that some people may be vulnerable because of certain characteristics. Some people can be more victimized, like because they are children, because they are elderly person, maybe women in vulnerable situations, maybe persons with disabilities, maybe some individuals with certain type of mental illness who are incapable of dealing with the situation. And definitely some lonely individuals may be more prone to being victimized. And immigrants who is almost unknown to that particular area, or having with less documentation, he or she or they might be more prone to victimization. Other may include persons with drug dependency, maybe some persons with greed, or we can say greedy individuals who may be vulnerable to fraud. Some persons like depressed or emotionally distressed person, they can also have more possibility of being victimization. So according to Hans van Heiting, his typology of victims were like this: from children, elderly persons, women, persons with disabilities, etc. Okay. So even though he classified he classified victims with different typologies as mentioned, we must consider that victimology doesn't mean responsibility. We mustn't equate vulnerability with responsibility. Being vulnerable, we'll see